The story told by Emanuele in this episode focuses on his relationship with his father. Since the episode was recorded, his father has sadly passed away. Emanuele has given his blessing for us to release this edition of What Lingers in his father's memory. This podcast contains strong language.
Hello and welcome to What Lingers. This is the podcast from the people behind Storytelling Lisboa, where we uncover the questions behind people's stories.
I'm Cristian Figueroa.
And I'm Liz Melchor.
And we are the team behind Storytelling Lisboa, where once a month, 10 storytellers get on stage in front of 200 people and tell true and personal stories related to a theme.
We don't produce anyone. We encourage newcomers. The night is free for all. We want an inclusive stage dedicated to fostering community, sharing the human experience.
And we just love it. But, honey, there is a problem. We always have lingering questions for the storytellers and no format to ask them. Until now.
What Lingers is a chance to dive back in, inviting storytellers to retell their stories and stay for a conversation in front of a smaller live audience at Tribe Social Club in the heart of Lisbon. Cristian, this episode's really exciting because we moved across town to tape at Tribe Social Club.
Such a beautiful place. I loved it. It was amazing. Why don't we tell people about this story a little bit? I personally loved it because it's about a dad and it touched me in a personal level, but we'll get into it.
But I think that's the thing, right? We really can't say much about this episode because we were sworn to secrecy. And so audience members at home, can you guess the secret?
Let's see and find out. So here's Emanuele with his story on the theme family.
As a child, I don't recall my father paying too much attention to his children. He was always working, overworking, in a very consuming job, a thankless job that I cannot even tell you what it is for legal reasons. And even if you will ask me at the end of the episode what the job is, I will not tell you for legal reasons. So he was always working, and the job was consuming him. He started becoming obese, he was not at home a lot, and eventually my mother divorced from him. I was about 8 years old, and from this moment on, that's where I started to know my father. Me and my brother, we would spend weekends every other week at my father's place, this new apartment. And I can only describe my father as the most tech geek. On the geek side, he always had all the gadgets that were available, the technological things, whatever that was out in the 90s. He had it before it was even released to the public. And I would basically benefit from this as a child. So it was very nice to be in his apartment. And not only he had these things for himself, but he was also gifting them to me. So as an 8-year-old boy, as soon as they got divorced, my father had a top-notch computer that probably would cost him millions of lira at the time. And I'm pretty sure that this was a power move to show my mother who was the better parent. But not only did he give me this computer, he also showed me that he really cared about me. The memory that I have that reminds me the most that he was really caring is that he started giving me floppy disks, if you remember them, with one web page on each floppy disk, so that I could swap them and navigate the web without having an internet connection. It was mostly Pokemon, Dragon Ball, things that a kid in the 90s would really geek on. And I remember one floppy disk, one Pokemon. So on the unscientific side, my father's apartment didn't have a lot of furniture, but it had a lot of books. And I remember that because of his job, but also because of how he is, he would just let us watch TV the whole day or linger through his books. And so my education as a child came from that literature. So I'm gonna go through the books that were in my father's library. The biggest theme is aliens. So Roswell, the crash landing of UFOs, the cover-up from the American government, anything that would tell you that there's something beyond the stars was in my father's library. And did you ever hear about Bigfoot or Chupacabra, the subjects of cryptozoology, so the science of animals that shouldn't exist? Loch Ness. What about cryptoarchaeology? It's what archaeologists don't want you to know. I discovered as a child that the God of the Bible is actually an alien. The gods of ancient Greece and Rome were actually aliens that were fighting each other in a thermonuclear war. And I was pretty sure about this. So as a child, I started thinking, my father is really cool. And then I grew up. I was a teenager. I went into an engineering career. I moved away from home. I started seeing my family less and less. And every now and then I would come back and I would talk to my father. But my father, as always, when I was a child, would not listen. He was always busy with his job or his passions. He became a master of Reiki, so he would convince me that he could heal my flu just by touching me in some, I don't know, on the leg or something. And as a child, not as a child, as a son of my father, I would just think my father is really dumb. He wasn't cool anymore. So eventually he retired from his job, his thankless job, and most of his colleagues died actually after leaving the job for how consuming this was. He didn't die, he's still alive, but he got very sick. He had only one trip before getting sick. He went to Cuba. He came back and he told me everything about the ladies there. He was very happy. The second most important part of my father's library was the one about tantric sex. I can assure you that by now I can become one with the universe just through orgasms. And I am pretty sure that that's why, as an adult, I'm trying to do better than my father, because I was looking at these books and I was not understanding what was going on. And then I was seeing that he was always going around women. And I'm trying to be what I really am, which is polyamorous people, and I'm sure that it comes from there. So he got very sick. And now every time I go back, he doesn't move much. His heart started failing, his kidneys started failing, and now he's on dialysis, which is something that I don't recommend to anybody here. So please, check your kidneys. And whenever I go back, it's always the same. So we watch TV. He doesn't pay attention to anything about my life. He probably doesn't know what I do. He remembers that I live in Lisbon. That's as far as we go. But then he tells me about his passion. So until recently, he started a witchcraft cult. Together with some other people, they would go in the forest and howl at the moon. But he didn't like it much because he said it was full of women, he was the only man, and there would be too much feminine energy, and then that destroyed his peace, I don't know what, and so he left. And these days, when I see my father talking about these things, I look at him and I can see that all these passions, all the books, all the stuff that I would call BS, to not say the bad word, but that I really never understood, is actually what helped him stay afloat during his life. that helped him stay alive with this very consuming job. And so when I look at my father now, I actually see a person that managed to be happy somehow. And he taught me something that I think some of you might already know, which is to always go out there, because the truth is out there, as Murder and Skelly tell you in X-Files. And so these days I look at my father and I think, my father is really cool. Thank you.
Emanuele, thank you so much for your story. It's one of my favorites. And of course, we know you from the stage of Storytelling Lisboa, but can you quickly introduce yourself better for everyone here and at home listening?
For sure. So my name is Emanuele. It's very difficult to pronounce. I am from Italy, from Rome. That's where the story was set. These days I live in Lisbon, a very beautiful city. I am an engineer, so I also became a tech bro thanks to my father. And I manage a large community for non-monogamous people in Lisbon, which is something that I mentioned during the story, which I'm very proud of. I'm helping people like me with group therapy, basically. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Okay, lots of questions. I would love to see like the bookshelves in your father's house. But it's interesting because it sounds like he influenced what you've become a lot, while at the same time you have this sort of like tension where you don't agree with his beliefs. Have you thought about why that is, or how that came to be?
Absolutely. I mean, this is still going on. The struggle is still going on. My father yesterday told me that climate change is happening, but it's always been happening. It's not because of us.
Okay, and so that was like a shift, because before he was sort of denying it?
No. He just says that there's something they don't tell you, which is it's not man-made. It's just climate change. It's happening.
So there's something behind.
There's something out there, right?
There's something always.
That's always something going on. But yeah, there is that struggle. There is that tension. I definitely picked up a lot from him, the passion for, the geeky side of me. I think those books sparked my curiosity a lot. I've always been a very curious child. My mom would basically, instead of buying me food, she would buy books. And I think, my father basically nurtured that for me. He helped me nurture that.
And sort of like with those books that are about aliens and stuff like that, when you were 8 years old, did you believe?
I never believed, and I always thought, such a cool story. So it was like fairy tales to me. I know everything about all the quirky stuff around the world that doesn't exist. And to me, that was just like reading Harry Potter.
And why do you think that when you were a child, and because your father, he believed, right? Or do you think that he had a bit of skepticism in him?
I don't think he had any skepticism. Obviously, he knows that X-Files is fiction.
Yeah.
But
obviously.
Yes, he knows that. But due to the nature of his job that I cannot talk about.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. So, can you give?
We're a little bit like.
I know. I'm like, you tell me that, and then I'm like,
Okay.
oh, I want to know. But can you give us more details about his job in terms of not without disclosing it? But was it emotionally heavy? Was it?
Okay. Once I found a gun.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I come from Colombia. We have guns. Oh my God, no, I'm sorry. We have to cut that. That's okay. That's normal.
I found a gun.
Oh my God, sorry.
Okay.
And I just went to my father and said, "What is this?" And he just showed it to me, and he dismantled the gun and just said, no, it's safe. Just that sometimes I have to bring it home. So that's the first hint. And then he would do, I've never heard about this in any other job, but he would do shifts like this. So imagine working in the morning, then you're off 4 hours, then you do the night, then you're off 4 hours, and then you do the afternoon, and then you're off 12 hours, and then you restart. For years.
Is he a Uber driver?
Maybe Uber drivers have guns, but most probably, but no.
In Italy?
But okay, do you know what he did in the end?
I know what it is.
But you didn't know until you got older?
I think my father started telling me when I was older, and now these days he's retired. He cannot talk about it, but he tells me everything about it. And also, sometimes he was sick, he was at the hospital, so I had to go through his stuff, and I found notebooks with notes about his job. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I shouldn't really look at this.
Emanuele, I have to say that when you told this story the first time, it really lingered with me because I feel, of course, really related with my dad relationship, and because of my dad is just like your dad. And I wonder if you nowadays acknowledging the fact that you are many things because also of your dad show you all these different worlds. If there is any like frustration inside, because in my case, I grew up like pushing away from all my dad represented, and then nowadays I recognize that he actually taught me a lot of things, and that kind of bothers me because I don't want to be like my dad, but I'm a son of my dad. Do you have like this conflict inside of you, or how do you relate with this?
Okay, I think there's one memory I have. When I got my driving license, my dad taught me that when you take a turn, you should accelerate because you take it better. And honestly, this is the only memory I have where my father looked at me in the eyes and told me, I'm going to teach you something.
Okay.
So I don't recall any teaching. It was all passive. And I think I distanced myself from him a lot in life. So basically, if I have to choose between going left and right, and he's going left, I would go right. And even these days, I know that whatever he's telling me, it's just a little bit sad. So I understand why he got there, but it's just a little bit sad. And I didn't say it in the story because it's story. I couldn't talk for like half an hour about my father, but it's all a product of childhood. My father didn't have the upbringing that I had, which was good, also thanks to him, because his job, that I cannot talk about, was very well paid, very well paid. So I had everything as a child. But imagine somebody that grows up without parents, being adopted, no emotional intelligence for the people growing up in the 60s, I'm sorry. And so he became very machista, with my mother, with the other women, so many women that I've seen going around the house. So I wouldn't do what he did.
And talking about a little bit, I mean, when you mentioned that your dad became associated as a holistic therapist, or he was just this, I mean, with his witchcraft and Reiki things. And I do believe that people need something to believe in order to just survive to the war, or just, I mean, the war is a really tough place. But also, you describe yourself as you're helping other people now. And you're helping through therapy, or spoken therapy, which is another form of healing. And, well, on my personal side, I do think that sharing your stories is a healing tool. Don't you think like this is something that might be related indirectly?
So I don't think that Reiki or being spiritual are something wrong. I think being holistic can help a lot of people. I know that you, Cristian, do some work there.
Yes, you do.
And I have nothing against that. I think I have something against that because my father is with that. And there was no therapy at home, not with him, not with anybody. So I think, especially because I want to do better than him, I am trying to pick up things that I never saw in the household. And I think personal development, mental health, therapy are all things that they were not discussed at the home, not even with my mother. And so I think our generation, I'm in my 30s now, it's something very important. And so, especially because I am part of this community that I mentioned, and it's a little bit a minority, let's call it like that. It's not like an underprivileged minority, there's worse, but there's people who struggle. And so I think sharing and helping each other is very important.
And so now you said that now you're part of a polyamorous community, and that's like an intentional community here in Lisbon. And how do you think that did the tantric sex or the ideas that you might have gotten from some of the literature that was on your father's bookshelf, did that influence now your sexuality and how you express it?
I've thought about that a lot. I would say yes. There's a thing that is said in the non-monogamous community, which is you can be that by lifestyle. So there's people who choose to, like just mingle with more than one person at the same time, consciously, transparently. And there's people who are identifying themselves with that. Okay. And I think I identify myself, and it's totally something that comes from childhood. So I definitely was exposed to sexuality at a very early stage. I think I was exposed to the fact that my father had more than 2, maybe more than 10 people going around at the same time. And again, I want to do better than that.
Yeah, because you said that. You said, I want to do better than that. And you also said that your father was very like machista. And so in some ways, are you sort of like rewriting it in a way that maybe some of the behaviors are similar, but it's done in a different way, in an ethical way? Or
I'm trying. I am every day trying to do better. I think everybody picks up behaviors from their parents, 100%. But yes, I believe that I'm trying to do everything again that they did. I got married, and their divorce affected me a lot, so I was trying to have a better marriage than them, ideally. Then, of course, that's also a struggle sometimes, let's say, because everybody has struggles. And I think that we should be conscious about those influences that our parents give us so that we identify why we're doing things. And so we can deconstruct when we do things wrong and why. Maybe it comes from them and we can improve.
Thank you. I mean, those are amazing thoughts, and I'm having so many questions. But I think I'm gonna ask one before we go to the audience. Have you tried to talk to your dad about this work that you? I mean, you mentioned that he doesn't know what you do, but have you mentioned, like, something that happened with me personally is like when I start doing therapy and healing and all these things, like I felt compelled to bring my mom, like, you need this, and I think you can benefit from this, even though she didn't believe or she wasn't open for it. Nowadays, like, she's doing her work and stuff. Have you ever tried this with your parents or with your dad?
I tried with my mom. I think my mom is more similar to me. She has that spark of curiosity that I really like of myself. And she's more receptive. With my dad, the thought is like, why would I do it? He would not be receptive. So he would not accept that, he wouldn't think about it. And I also feel that he's sick, very sick at the moment. I'm trying to bring him to Lisbon, but it's very tough. And I feel like I would just add pressure on top of something that is already unstable. If I can share something that is quite funny, is that I opened myself to my mother, and my mother said, "Oh, I've been married twice for 30 years. I understand wanting to be with more than one person. Just don't tell your wife." And I was like, "Mom, that's not what we're doing here."
Trying to, at least.
Trying.
Okay, so thank you so much. And I could keep asking questions, and Cristian could keep asking questions too. But we have this amazing audience, and I'm sure that some of them have questions. And so we're going to turn it over to the audience. And who has a question for Emanuele?
Hi, I'm Lumi. If you had a child, how would you parent that child? What lingers based on the experience with your father, but also what do you want to linger based on your experience that maybe you can have with your own children?
Having kids is something that comes to me sometimes. Sometimes it goes away. It goes in cycles. I'm 34 now, so I'm at an age where I should think about this seriously. I believe that if I had to have a child, there's two things. I would, as my father did indirectly, I would try to spark my children's curiosity. And that would be through exposing them to as many things as possible, both the alien stuff and also the productive things that they can, I think children should be able to have everything that they can in front of them, and then they pick what they want. I think something that was missing for me, and I realized this very consciously at some point in life, was that my parents could only do so much. And this came from their education. So if your life is entirely within a box and there's a ceiling on top of you, you cannot teach your children above the ceiling. And so I think I have been very lucky to be able to travel the world and see things, and I've had a very... my friends say that I can die young because I've already done everything. So I would like my children to be exposed to that. I think that's the only directive that I can give myself. And I had this question asked to me yesterday, actually, from a different person who just had a friend of mine who just had a child. And his answer was, I'm just trying to be a good father here.
Hi, I'm Maria. I have a question. From the way that you're telling your story, what lingered in my mind was if you still sort of challenge your dad's beliefs, or if you've come to just choose the path of least resistance, which I do not judge, by the way, this is just a question, and you just accept that part of him wholly, and you choose that the moments that you have with him are in peace, or if you choose to, not stick up to him, but try to rationalize with him, and why specifically?
I do fight. I do speak up, and then there is silence. So he says something that I absolutely know is wrong, to not say bullshit. Can I say bullshit?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I try to reply with the correct thing, and then there's silence. The climate change thing that I mentioned was something like that. He shares with me some alt blogs, completely fake news, where they're saying that, 100 years ago a Tesla-like scientist discovered that climate change is a hoax. And this is true, I've seen that. And so I tell him, no, Dad, look at this statistic that I have in front of you, and then that's just denial. So, no, I think I do it, but I know where it goes. I think it doesn't land very far.
Thank you.
It sounds like a lot of the conversations you have with him are driven really by his interests, right, and his ideas. And so he's not, do you have other conversations that are different, or no?
I think he asks me how am I doing in general, and every single morning I receive a message with buongiorno, which is good morning. Aww. And that's it. That's where the conversation starts and ends. We try to...
Such a dad love. It's like, I love you, with an emoji or something like that.
There's one thing that he's very passionate about that is not aliens. My father is from Naples, and this is so funny to me. People from Naples believe that every single thing in human history was invented in Naples. I'm not joking. The pizza, the coffee, whatever, flying cars, everything came from, Yeah, because there is this thing from Naples, and the thing that makes me laugh the most is that he didn't grow up in Naples. So he was there until he was 10, then he was adopted. He doesn't speak Napolitan, which is another language, but he believed in the city so much. And what people say is that the culture over there is a mix from history from the Greeks, the Romans, the Arabs, the Spanish, the French, everybody was there. So they're like, we know everything and we have done everything. And constantly I receive some blog post or something from social media where there's some Napolitan guy that has done something amazing and he's like, you see? That's what I told you. It's true.
Yeah, bless his heart. I kind of want to meet your dad. Anybody else in the audience? Yes, here.
Hello, I'm Dennis. Thank you very much for a compelling story. You mentioned that you've been through therapy, I believe, and your father has been therapy adjacent with Reiki and all these things. Would you ever go to therapy with your father, or have you done that before?
I haven't. I think I should. I told him once that he really needed to go. So this was, I'm gonna recall a very sad moment. A few years ago, he was already sick and he really wanted to go on a cruise, and I went with him, and it was a disaster because he didn't understand that he actually had to go to the hospital. And I didn't understand that, and we did the whole cruise where he couldn't walk one step. And at some point I just snapped on him saying, you do not take care of yourself. That's why you go to bees. It's somebody that doesn't take care of themselves. You need to go to therapy now. You need to go to the hospital, but then we need to go to therapy. And I remember him sitting, first time that I've seen this, I hope it's the last time, looking at the floor and shaking from anxiety. I don't think he's going to go to therapy.
I forgot to ask you at the beginning, I just saw this video of Gabor Mate, who I'm loving at the moment, that you never had the same experience as siblings with the family. You grew up in the same house with the same parents, but you don't have the same experience. You are an only child.
No, I have a brother.
You have a brother?
Yes.
What's his story? What's his side of the story with
We
your
can
dad?
call him, but...
Oh my God! Can we have him at storytelling? No, it's like, because when I talk to my sister, for example, and the relationship we have with my mom or my dad, it's like we grew up in different countries. It's like completely different. So I'm curious about like what's your brother's perspective on your dad?
So my brother is completely different from me. If I am somebody who's all over the place, traveling, like lots of friends, my brother is the most inward introvert that I know. I know he's gonna be listening to this at some point, so I'm sorry if I'm saying this. But
we love you.
we love you. And I definitely think that it's because he was a second child. He was probably 3 when they split up, so he grew up in that environment. He was native to it much more than me. And I think I also take too much space, so I took all of his space. I remember my mother saying, I couldn't have milk for your brother because you drank it all. That's true. So I think his experience is similar to mine, with the difference that he gets really angry at my father. So, but like me, he got very far. He lived in China.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now he lives back in Italy, but he lived in China. He's trying to go back to China. So both of us are like far away.
Running away.
Yeah, we've been running away.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's consistent. At least the story is the same from both of you guys.
Another question
We
right
have
here.
a question at the end.
Thank you. My name is Kat. I love this format because I think about this question a lot when I come to things like storytelling, especially now that this is a podcast. And it kind of has to do with what you just said. You were talking to your brother in case he listened to this. I just wrote a memoir of my grandma, and I wrote different versions because there were certain versions that I would share with family and certain versions that I wouldn't, because these people are living. So I'm curious as to whether your dad will hear the podcast and how you would feel about that.
That's a great question.
Thank you for the question. I don't think he's going to listen to the podcast because even though he believes he speaks English, he doesn't. So his knowledge of English is called Google Translate. So I don't think he will, unless the producers translate it into Italian.
AI will at some point.
At some point. But there's something that I want to do that is similar to what you just said, the memoir, and also answers the therapy question from before. That's what I wanted to add. There's one thing that I want to do. I want to pay a friend of mine, who's a video maker, to go to my father's place and interview him for hours. And I don't want to be there, because he will not talk to me. So I want somebody that he can tell what his job is to actually interview him. I want to do the same with my mother, but because he's sick now, I'm thinking about it much more.
No, that's a really good idea. We did that with my grandpa, and it is interesting too to send somebody that has no relation to the family, because then also your father can be more open perhaps than like in this narrow, like family stories can stay kind of stuck. And yeah, and I think writing about them, and like I read about writers that couldn't write a book until somebody passed away, because they couldn't reveal themselves with that possibility in their story. Does anybody else have any questions in the audience? Lingering questions.
Thank you. So I was wondering, because like the things that you tell about your dad, they are really, I mean, it makes him special, and it's like uncommon ideas, but it's not against anyone. In the form, I mean, like the machist thing, of course, it's against women, right? But if he had been like racist instead of believing in aliens, what would it have changed about like your relationship?
I have to thank whoever is up there that my father is what he is, because I don't think he was a bad father. So he could have been much worse, as you're saying. I just think he's a different father, quirky father. If I had a racist father, I probably would have disowned him. I would have just ran away much more than I am already doing. So I live in a different country because I love to live in a different country, and because I am critic of Italy and everything that is around Italy. I'm a non-believer. If he believes in aliens, I don't believe in Italy. But I don't think...
It's kind of the same.
It's kind of the same, yeah. He doesn't believe in climate change, I don't believe in Italy. Or Naples, yeah. But yeah, I don't think he's a bad father, in the sense that I think he has limitations. I know more or less where those limitations come from. It's education, it's his upbringing. And I don't think he could have done much more than he did. I know of behaviors where he treated my mother badly. I remember him slapping me as a child, so it's not like there's nothing there. There are behaviors. And I still think that at the extent of his capabilities, he's trying his best.
Thank you so much, Emanuele, for coming and for being on our stage and being so open with all of us.
And we want to end the night just by asking a last question. What have you learned about yourself from the experience of sharing your story at Storytelling Lisboa here in Lisbon?
So I am a person who wants attention, so that's why I go on stage.
Don't we all?
I don't really want attention, but I like to be doing public speaking, and like it's nice. I know. I think what I've learned the most is that I can share a bit of myself with other people, and they can benefit from that. The story about my father is the only story I've told where somebody came to me and said, "That's the story of my father." And actually, more than 3 or 5 people in the audience came to me and they were like, "Yeah, that book about gods and thermonuclear war, I've read it." And I was like, "Okay, what?"
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think the best thing is that people can identify themselves with the story, and also all the stories that I've heard from other people that happened to me as well.
That's it for this episode of What Lingers. Thanks so much to Emily, Charlie, and the team at Tribe Social Club.
Please make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And also follow us on Instagram at Storytelling Lisboa to keep up to date.
What Lingers is a podcast from the team behind Storytelling Lisboa.
It's produced by Johnny Bunyan. Thank you so much for listening, and join us again for another edition of What Lingers.
See you next week.